Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Unscripted Ramblings. I'm Kendall Richardson. Thank you so much for joining me as always. So it has been teeny tiny minute since I've done one of these videos. It feels like an age since Loki ended, and it's only been just over a month, I think, at this point. I don't know. Time is meaningless right now. It's very interesting. But anyway, I'm here and I'm going to be talking about Black Widow. Finally, I promised you guys, I said I would do it. My full kind of spoilery review, ramble review of Black Widow. I suppose definitely enough time has now passed for all of you guys who are watching to have seen this. I guess I'll just go in. Now I've seen the movie twice as well, 2 times. I would have liked to have gone a 3rd time, but sadly the pandemic is preventing me from even entering a cinema right now, which is just very depressing. I say ironically wearing a Marvel t-shirt. I really want to go see The Suicide Squad and I can't, and I'm having problems coping with that, but that's okay. It's fine. There are worse things in the world. I'm very lucky. And I'm lucky to be here today talking about Black Widow, so let's just talk about it. Yes, cool. So, I said in my spoiler-free review that I really enjoyed the movie. Now that I've seen it a 2nd time and I've had more time to digest the film, it's totally fine. It's a serviceable film. It's a good movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It definitely doesn't really kind of hold up to where the top tier films are in terms of the quality, in terms of the shock value, in terms of just generally being awesome. Not that it was ever going to be. It's Black Widow. It's the first film of Phase 4. It's, you know, it's a film based on Earth solely, so you know there's no intergalacticness to it, and you know, so a lot of those films are going to have a bit more of your spectacle going on, I guess, higher stakes maybe, but for me, it's just kind of your run-of-the-mill Marvel film, and that, you know, for someone like myself who enjoys Marvel movies a lot more than most people, you know, that's fine for me. I had a really great time watching it. I think the problem, and I don't remember if I said this in my spoiler-free video, but I think the problem for me was that because we'd waited so long to see this movie, my expectations were beyond, through the roof doesn't even cover it. That's an understatement. I was just beyond excited to finally watch this movie, especially because I love Natasha Romanoff as a character. I've always wanted to know more about her backstory, more about the Red Room, and everything, and this movie did deliver on that front, but for some reason I was expecting something a bit more epic, but I feel like that's probably because we had this problem of 4 release dates and waiting over 12 months to finally actually watch this film. So that's, you know, I shouldn't hold it against Marvel. They didn't know a pandemic was going to happen when this was coming out. I will up top though say again, this movie should have come out a long time ago. They could have fit it in Phase 3 after Civil War. Somewhere, you know, maybe put it just before Black Panther or around the Thor Ragnarok area, to give it that continuity feel. Obviously the post-credit scene messes with that, but you know, hey, it's fine. You could have done, anyway. Or it could have happened in Phase 1, it could have in Phase 2. The problem is that this movie should have come out a long time, and I think that's most people's main complaints about it, especially because you know, Scarlett is such a wonderful actress, by all accounts pretty great person, and has worked her butt off for over 10 years playing this character, and considering she's one of the Avengers, she deserves her due, and she gets it here, but it's just, you know, it's just too late, I think. But I'm still glad we got it. I'm still very happy, and one of the main reasons I think I can be accepting of the fact that it came out this late is because if it had come out any earlier, we probably wouldn't have gotten Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, who is by far the best thing in this movie. She steals the show. Unfortunately, sorry, Scarlett. I mean, I love Scarlett in this. She's awesome. She kicks ass. But I've been such a fan of Florence Pugh the last few years. Seeing her in Midsommar, Fighting with My Family, Lady Macbeth, like Little Women as well. She's so talented. She has such a wide-ranging spectrum of characters that she's played and characters she can play. So it's really cool to see such a versatile actress become a part of the MCU. Like, that's only going to be a benefit to us as audience members down the line, especially because this movie is setting her up as the new Black Widow. But yeah, she's fantastic. I can't tell you enough how much I love her in this. She also gives me like a good laugh too. My two favourite moments with her in this film have to be, more related to comedy anyway, have to be the first moment she calls out Natasha for being such a poser. And she kind of gets down and does the pose and just the hair flicking back thing and like making fun of her every time they do it. Like, you know, Deadpool makes fun of the superhero landing. This is kind of the same thing except in the MCU proper. Very, very funny. And then later on when it's paid off in the movie and she accidentally does the pose herself. And then she goes, oh, that was disgusting, and then just kind of like shakes it off. That was very amusing. Yeah, but she's great. And I love her during the dramatic moments as well. She's very, very good. Like there's a really lovely scene with her and David Harbour as Alexei, Red Guardian, and you know, she's feeling betrayed because of the lie that was their family. She didn't know when she was a kid because she was too young and she thought it was all real. But yeah, and if, Alexei's trying to make it up to her and kind of make her feel better. And it's just, they have this really nice scene where at first it's played off a comedy but she's, you know, not giving in, and then he starts singing American Pie because that was her song. And I really like the way Florence played that kind of tenderness in that moment of like, okay, you know, it clearly meant something to him if he's willing to, you know, make me feel better and sing this. Like, it was just a really nice scene. Yeah, and then just the relationship that she has with Natasha, the two of them form a really nice, strong dynamic in this movie. The rapport is fantastic, the chemistry is fantastic, as these two kind of surrogate sisters, both Black Widows, and yeah, I just really love the way they bounce off each other, yeah, throughout the entire film. Really, really strong stuff. Who else should I talk about next? I suppose I could probably just mention David Harbour. Let's talk about David Harbour as Alexei Shostakov, the Red Guardian, basically Russia's Captain America, as we find out. He has been injected with the super soldier serum, or a version of it, yeah, but he was, for some reason, sidelined by Dreykov, who decided to put all his focus on his widows, and he put Red Guardian in a gulag for like 25 years, for some reason. Wow. Yeah, 25 years. Yeah, or 20-ish years. But yeah. So he's pissed when we catch up with him. But it's fine because, you know, he's the comedic relief of this movie. That's a very easy thing to say because it's true. And it's not even forced. It's not even over the top. It never becomes tiring. I love his dialogue that he has with all the women around him, and how funny he is. Like, David Harbour's sense of comedic timing is very impressive, very, very good. I really enjoyed his performance quite a bit. I thought he was very funny. I would have liked to have seen more of him fighting though, because there's this one scene towards the end of the film where him and Taskmaster are fighting, and it's cool because, you know, you get. The cool stuff about Taskmaster is basically how they can, you know, mimic, using the technology they have, mimic Avengers fight moves. So, you know, you get Spider-Man stuff, you get Black Panther stuff, you get Captain America stuff, Winter Soldier stuff, and Black Widow, of course. Like that stuff's really, really cool. And there's this one fight scene that they're having, in the climax of the film, but we're kind of cutting away to what's going on with Natasha and what's going on with Yelena and what's going on with Melina and all that stuff. So the focus is split, and I feel like you don't really get enough time with him, and enough time with him fighting Taskmaster. I thought they probably could have used that a bit better. You dragged that out a bit longer, maybe showed more of that fight scene. Which is disappointing. Because we don't really get to see too much of Red Guardian being Red Guardian in this, which is fine, I suppose, but, would be nice to have had a little bit more. Speaking of having a little bit more, would have been nice. Rachel Weisz as Melina, she's great. I mean, Rachel Weisz is great in everything she does. However, she probably... her role probably could have been played by anyone. There isn't anything particularly Rachel Weisz that she brings to this character that makes you go, okay, no one else, like this is, Melina is her, like that's it. That doesn't happen in this. And that's not entirely a bad thing, because again, I do like Rachel Weisz quite a bit. I think she's phenomenally talented, and she's gorgeous to boot, so why not have her in a Marvel movie? But yeah, just, I don't know, give her a bit something more to do, I think. I mean, I enjoyed the relationship between her and Alexei throughout the movie. That was really nice. And the way she kind of filled that motherly role as Melina, like at the start of the film when the kids are, they're young and they're on the run. And then again later on in the film, I like that motherly aspect to her, and she brings that really well. I just would have liked to have seen her be used either better or differently or more or something. I don't know. Interesting stuff. But yeah, as for Natasha herself, again, Scarlett does a really fantastic job with this role. My only kind of disappointment about it is the fact that I just kind of feel first time I watched it, it felt like it wasn't really Black Widow's movie until the third act for me. The entire thing still kind of felt like an ensemble piece, because she was still... there's, in Act 1, there's a few sequences of her by herself, but we don't really get much action of her by herself engaging with the plot of the film, because as soon as, the plot happens to her and she has to go to Budapest, that's immediately when she runs into Yelena. I would have liked one more extra sequence or moment or scene or something, an extra segment that would be 5-10 minutes of just Natasha doing something solo and being awesome. We didn't get that in this movie, and that disappoints me. However, that being said, when we get to the third act and Natasha actually gets to be, I'm the hero of this piece, against Dreykov, I think that is just awesome. I loved the entire final scene, especially the first time I watched it. It didn't feel as good to me on a rewatch, unfortunately, but the first time I was really into it. I really liked her being that person who's going toe to toe in a dialogue scene with the villain, and even with some action going on. I thought it was really, really cool. I loved it. I love the whole thing about, the way that she finds out that there's actually a pheromone that Dreykov emits that prevents any widow from harming him. That was done really well. I really loved that. And then the way she was able to beat that by getting him to punch her in the face. She kept sassing him, and I thought that was very funny. And she kept getting hit in the face. And then... and then she was like, well, you're not strong enough, so I'm going to smash my head on your desk to separate the nerve that will block the pheromone from actually affecting her, and then she's able to hurt him that way. So that was really cool. I really liked that. And especially because that whole sequence too kind of brings it back around to the first Avengers film. And this is where some of my favourite moments of the movie come in, is when they're referencing, which I shouldn't say, but when they're referencing other films. particularly Avengers. Like the first Avengers gets referenced a bunch in this movie, and I love it. But this is, you know, just talking about this moment is really great, where Natasha's actually manipulating Dreykov to get him to show his hand, essentially, and show her, you know, what his master plan is, how he, you know, where he stores all his information about the widows and how many widows are in the world and all this stuff. Like, it's done really, really well. And then she goes, "Thank you for your cooperation," exactly the same way as she said to Loki in Avengers 1, after he said, "Oh no, you brought the monster," talking about Hulk, and she's like, "Oh, so the Hulk's your play, okay." Yeah, I really like that reference. I thought that was really cool, and it was a really nice moment to kind of, you know, just reaffirm Natasha as a badass. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, and then I suppose the other stuff with like Taskmaster and stuff is really interesting. Again, another reference to Avengers 1 that I loved, because in that same scene with the "thank you for your cooperation," before that moment, there's some dialogue that Loki's dropping when, you know, Natasha's talking about how she defected from S.H.I.E.L.D. and Clint didn't kill her and all this stuff, and, you know, she wants to wipe out the red from her ledger, and he's like, "Can you really wipe out that much red?" And then he mentions Dreykov's daughter. And, you know, we just kind of thought it was a throwaway thing, but they decided to take that throwaway line and actually make it part of the story. And forgive me if I am not knowing that Dreykov is actually a character who is actually the head of the Red Room in the comics. It's probably true, and I probably should apologise for getting my facts wrong. However, regardless, the fact that they took that Dreykov's daughter reference, I thought was really good. So Natasha kind of, not only is her mission, I suppose, to bring down the Red Room and Dreykov once and for all, as soon as she realises that he's not dead, he also, you know, she also kind of has to come to grips with the fact that, you know, she thinks she killed Dreykov's daughter as well, and that was heartbreaking and devastating for her, but, you know, she was collateral damage, as she says. But then she finds out that Dreykov's daughter, Antonia, is actually alive and is the Taskmaster. Yes, so the Taskmaster thing, let's talk about that. I'm of two minds about it. On the one hand, I think it's really cool that they've decided to change up the origin a little bit, and make it a character that has some kind of emotional weight with Natasha. Like there's some kind of, you know, conflict there that has to do with her struggle. I think that's awesome, like that's good storytelling. Unfortunately, I kind of mostly think that, yeah, Taskmaster was kind of wasted in this movie. For one reason, speaking of wasting, Olga Kurylenko was cast as Antonia Dreykov, and we see her, you know, briefly unmasked in a couple of scenes towards the end of the movie. And yeah, I think she only has like maybe one line of dialogue, and I don't know, I'm like, if you're gonna cast Olga, at least use her. I feel like they could have put anyone on it, and you know what, I kind of felt like they had, because on first watch I didn't even realise that was Olga Kurylenko at all. So I don't know whose fault that is, but you know, once I saw her name in the credits, that's when I put it together. So when I noticed her more the second time around, still was just a bit, they probably could have cast Rachel Weisz could have been Taskmaster, really, at this point. Yeah, so that's not good. And then the fact that like a comic book character as big as Taskmaster finally being introduced in the MCU, like I've heard a lot of my friends talk about how badass he is as a character, but for them to kind of change the origin and then do it like this, it just kind of, I don't know, fell a little flat for me. Especially because I didn't think, I had no idea really who Taskmaster was going to be, but I felt like it was just going to be someone a bit bigger. I don't know. And kind of the way we left at the end of the film with, you know, with her surviving, which is nice, and her being woken up, which is also nice. I don't think we're going to see Taskmaster again. or at least, you know, definitely not a villain, which Taskmaster traditionally is, and that's also fine, I suppose. You know, we're allowed to have villains as good guys. I mean, hello, Loki. That's a thing. So maybe she'll come back, I don't know, but yeah, I'm kind of split on how I feel, because, like, yeah, the fight scenes and stuff are really cool. Probably should have been more of them, especially because at the end, I have another nitpick. At the end, there's this moment where Natasha and Antonia are fighting, and you know, she's like, I don't want to hurt you, I don't want to hurt you, and Natasha is, and then you know, and then we get to this fight, and she's like, you know, they start throwing down, and she's like, okay, let's go. And, like, you know, and you think it's going to be this big epic long fight scene, but then it's literally done in like 10 seconds, and then she's like, I don't want to hurt you again. I'm like, can we just pick a lane and stay in it? Like, I don't know. That was just a little disappointing. I mean, I suppose it speaks true to Natasha's character at this point. She's a very altruistic person, doesn't want to hurt anyone. Especially someone that she's already hurt previously pretty badly. So I totally understand that. I just thought it was a bit weird how she kind of flip-flopped between I'm going to kick your ass to I'm going to not do that. But oh well. Yes, anyway, other references from Avengers 1. Let's just go into that. So there's another moment from Loki's little monologue that is mentioned. And that is when he specifically says, your ledger is dripping, gushing red. Yeah, I love that fucking part of the speech. But they took that exact dialogue and put it in the mouth of another character in this movie as a callback. So there's a scene where just after their helicopter has crashed due to lack of fuel, and Red Guardian is, you know, Alexi's trying to talk his girls around, like they're both pretty pissed at him for what, you know, what their lives became kind of because of him, in a way, indirectly, sort of directly. And you know, he's like talking about how proud he is, like, you both must have killed so many people, your ledgers must be dripping, gushing red. Like, he actually says that. And I was like, oh, I see what you did there. Yeah, really, really cool to reference that. Another big reference, of course, which we were hoping for was going to happen, and it does. We finally get to find out what happened in Budapest. I would have preferred it maybe as a flashback sequence, if they'd been able to get Jeremy Renner in for like a week to shoot something, because it sounds really, really cool, this whole thing in Budapest, because it was basically the moment where Natasha was going to be defecting to S.H.I.E.L.D. So her and Clint were in Budapest and trying to kill Dreykov, and all this stuff, and it was just intense. And it sounded epic the way they were talking about it, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, the joke still stands though when Hawkeye says in Avengers 1, you and I remember Budapest very differently. Yes, because that's nothing like what happened when the Chitauri invaded. Anyway, very funny. I enjoyed it. But yeah, it was nice to kind of have some context. And when, you know, Natasha's in the safe house and there's holes in the wall, and Yelena's like, what kind of gun makes those holes? And she's like, it's not a gun, they're arrows. Arrows did that, so that's Clint. I'm guessing maybe she was in that safe house when Clint came to kill her. I'm guessing that's what's implied there. But yeah, great. Otherwise, love. Alright, what else can I talk about before I wrap up? Because I think I'm basically done. Alright, we'll just talk about the post-credit scene, I think, and then we'll move on. Oh, before I do, Yelena's vest. The gag with her vest was great. It was awesome. Loved it. But I was very proud of myself that the first time I saw the movie, I recognized it as her vest before any of my friends did. So that was nice. But yeah, because I was like, oh my god, it's the vest. It's the vest she wears in Infinity War. Which immediately, when I saw that, I was like, that means Yelena's dying. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to fall in love with another character and have them killed. But thankfully that didn't happen. Because yeah, at the end of the film, obviously Yelena hands it over to Natasha to carry on with. So I thought that was really nice. So yeah, because the movie ends with, you know, Mason gives her the Quinjet, and she's got the short blonde hair and the vest on, and she's off to the raft to save, you know, whoever she saves. Well, who does she save? She saves from the raft Sam Wilson and Wanda Maximoff. But no, I think Clint and Scott Lang end up staying? I can't remember. But yeah, just because of Infinity War, it's, yeah. It's Natasha, Steve, Sam, Wanda, and Vision all together in the Quinjet. But yes, anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Yes, so I love that. But yeah, the post-credit scene. So obviously this movie was supposed to come out way earlier than it did, at least before Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So this was supposed to be our, as it was, introduction to Val, Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. I believe I'm remembering her name right. So yeah, she shows up in this post-credit scene where, you know, Yelena's having a moment because she's gone to visit Natasha's grave. Obviously, it's not actually where her body is, because, you know, she's on Vormir, unfortunately. But yeah, this is a grave, at least, for people to visit to. Visit to? Is that proper English? A grave for people to visit, to pay their respects to the Black Widow, to Natasha Romanoff. And it's a really emotional sequence because they're having this moment where they, you know, she does the whistle thing. Like throughout the film, there's this thing where they whistle, a call and response thing, that I really, really liked. I thought it was really adorable and very sisterly. And yeah, she does it at the end, and yeah, obviously there's no reply because Natasha's gone, and I'm just like, oh, tears. Very sad. And then yeah, Valentina rocks up and blows her nose, breaking the sorrow of the moment, and suddenly we're laughing, and I felt wrong for laughing, but I did. And yeah, and then, you know, we get this kind of exposition, kind of done well, about how Yelena's working for Val already. Like, initially I thought, okay, Val recruited John Walker, this is the recruitment scene for Yelena, but no, she's already been recruited. So yeah, so that's interesting. And then we get our little setup for the Hawkeye series because Val wants Yelena to kill Clint Barton. And that's probably going to be a big part of the plot, obviously, of the Hawkeye show, which is premiering in November this year. Cannot wait for that. Yeah, very exciting stuff. It's unfortunate though, because Val basically says that Clint killed Natasha, which is not what happened. Part of me hopes that Yelena would know better, because I feel like she would have some kind of sense what Clint meant to Natasha, and I don't think Clint, you know, I don't think she would think that Clint would just straight up murder Natasha. I feel like she'll probably give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think that'll happen straight away, because we've got to have some kind of, you know, tension going on in the show of Yelena coming after Clint, you know, and, you know, maybe she's going to have to be talked down, but yeah, the fact that there's going to be some intense dialogue scenes, at least, of, you know, the two of them yelling at each other about, you know, what actually happened and what Yelena thinks happened, maybe, and who knows. So it's going to be make for an amazing TV show, that's for sure. But yeah, we'll see how that unfolds in November. But I think that's it. I think that's all I've got to really say about Black Widow. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too. God, I can't speak anymore. It's been a while since I've done one of these. But yeah, no, I loved it. It should have happened earlier, that's all I'm saying, but I'm glad it happened now, because we have Florence Pugh in the MCU. MC Pugh, here we go. Oh boy, I'll see myself out. Thank you. Thank you for watching, I really appreciate it so much. Let me know your thoughts on Black Widow in the comments below, if you agreed with me. or you think I need to be taken to school for anything I said, just feel free to comment. Let us know, let me know. And yeah, stay tuned for more from me coming soon, no doubt. What if videos will be happening very soon. And then yeah, Shang-Chi is coming out in like 3 weeks. Oh my god. So excited. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, I've been a Kendall Richardson, and you've just experienced non-scripted rambling.